Hey y'all, welcome to Parent Empowerment with Mandy Drogin. I'm Mandy. I'm just a mom sitting down with real Texas administrators and real Texas students talking about what's going on in our schools. Today, I'm so excited to be joined by Doree Collins, the founder of Cultivate Academy in Temple, Texas, and 3 of her students here that are going to share with us why this groundbreaking, innovative education system that Doree has created in Temple has been revolutionary for their lives and for their future. Welcome, Doree.
Thank you, Mandy. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you guys for being here, ladies. Thank you for joining us.
Letting us be here.
This is going to be such a great day. So, Doree.
Yes.
You are a former public school teacher.
Yes.
Former
that is
public
correct.
school administrator.
Mm-hmm.
And you are the founder of a private school in Temple, Texas called Cultivate Academy.
That is correct.
Talk to me a little bit about your experience in the public school and what the impetus was to start Cultivate Academy.
Absolutely. So, yes, a lot of the motivation to start Cultivate Academy came from the experience as a public school educator. I understood that we were limited as educators to actually fully have autonomy when it came to our classrooms. There were some cultural things that I had issues with. We had students that I felt like were neglected because of different SES statuses or different race background, ethnic backgrounds. And so after working for so long, you kind of get to the place where you kind of think at first that you can make the difference, but then you realize it's too big for you. And so just started praying and then got the call to step out on faith, essentially, and start exploring, seeking how I could make a difference. Yes.
Well, that is beautiful. So,
Thank you.
and that led you to
Yes.
coming up with the concept of Cultivate Academy to reach those children that were falling through the cracks? That you felt like-
Absolutely. So actually, first, it led me to lead a local nonprofit, a grassroots unincluded club, which was founded by Garfield Hawk. He lived on Avenue D in East Temple. People call it grassroots, and I kind of laugh and say it's curb roots because there's hardly any grass there. It is, it is the heart of East Temple where there's very little infrastructure. You don't have grocery stores. A lot of the houses are dilapidated. This is where our lower income and Black and brown community live. This is where he grew up. This is where he started Unincluded. I knew about Unincluded Club because I saw him in the schools and I knew the work that he was doing. And so when it was time for me to step out on faith, I asked God, where do you want me to start? And he said Unincluded. Thankfully, Mr. Garfield opened up his arms, allowed me to come in and be me. I thank him so much for allowing me to grow in that process. I didn't come in with a full plan of what I wanted to do, but he gave me space to figure it out. That is an invaluable opportunity that I had to land me as a founder of Cultivate Academy-CTX. When I came into Unincluded, he had a mission. It was a mile long. He just wanted to be unincluded from everything negative. And I knew I needed to develop out. And so a year after I was working, we got handed a USDA land grant. So I knew that growing food needed to be at the center of our work. Coming from the public school, knowing that there's such a literacy gap between white and non-white children, I knew that literacy needed to be at the center of our mission. So for a few years, I developed our urban ag program where we grow our own food. And then I developed our literacy program where we go out and we read and we have activities that connect to the book. And then we give the brand new books. But as we were working that, I got tired. And it's like, okay, how are we going to keep this going? So I developed a leadership program. It's to teach us to learn twice, 2T2L2. So essentially, with the leadership program, we take middle and high schoolers, we train them, we get them prepared to lead, and they lead the rest of our programs. So that was working. We traveled across the United States with Mother of News Fair. We were able to connect with other communities that thought like we did. We started to become more and more focused on wellness. We started to understand how wellness should be a right. And so we have been working so intentionally to really figure out what wellness looks like for our families, ourselves, our families, and our communities. 3 years, this is our third year with Cultivate Academy. So 3 years ago, I decided to take all of these amazing things that we've done and put it into a school day. Up to that point, we had summer programs and after school, but it's limited, right? You get the kiddos when they're tired after their school day, or you only get a few months in the summer. And I wanted to have a real process that could produce real results. And so we started Cultivate Academy.
I love it. Well, thank you for sharing
Yes.
what put this in your heart and your mission to really change the lives of our most disadvantaged kids. You talk about the literacy gap, the income gap. I've never heard that phrase, curb roots, but I love that because we often talk about that empowering parents with school choice and education savings accounts is the civil rights issue of our time. When we talk about the disadvantages, we know that the way that school boundaries are drawn is not always a good thing. We know that we're locking kids into schools and systems simply based on the street that their family can afford to live on.
Correct.
And that's why this movement is the next civil rights movement of our time.
It truly is. And when you think about wellness as a right, so everyone should have access to good food. We've got generation on top of generation that is fighting high blood pressure and diabetes and things like that. And so that decreases the wellness of someone's lifetime. That's a right. Well, the way that people can get that right is to go to an educational process that is focused on that. So you're right. It is the civil rights issue. We need to have the opportunity to choose what we want for our lives, for our children, and what we want for the future generations. We know that public school has been the foundation of our society. Most of us spent most of our lives in public school. And so whatever we produced out of that, it was a result of what we experienced in public school. And what has been produced is short of righteous. We are up against so many different things that we think we just have to accept. And it's not true. And so, yes, the education savings account is a way for those who do not have access to resources to have an opportunity to actually think about a different way for their life, a different way for their families, and a different way for their community. We've been in this system where we've been given an educational process, so we haven't even had time where we've even processed something different. And so this will give an opportunity to our families, our parents, to actually think about something different for their families, for their to build a different type of legacy. We've got lots of young people in the public school where they're like, oh, yeah, my uncle's in prison. Yeah, my daddy's in prison. Yep, that's where I'm going. That's what they think. That's been their legacy. And they have all been a product of public school. That is wrong. And so it is time for us to give our parents and our community an opportunity to see and realize and live something different.
That's right. That's beautiful. And that's exactly correct. We talk a lot about the school to prison pipeline. And my colleague, Richard Johnson, in the Booker T. Washington Initiative, this has become his mission as well. And we oftentimes are standing together, united, talking about why this is the civil rights issue of our time, why we have to unleash the innovation and the spirit of kids, particularly our most disadvantaged kids, and give them an opportunity. And education savings accounts do that. So thank you for talking about that, because it is important for us to really acknowledge the disparities that exist and how we can unlock that door to prosperity.
Yes.
Yes.
And we know from the word of God, for those of us who are believers, what does it say about the kingdom? In the kingdom, what? The first shall be
last,
and
and the last shall be first.
So if we are going to manifest that and actually usher in the kingdom, then we have to give resources so that it can be done.
Right. That's
We
right.
can't say it all day and then say, oh, no, but you still have to go here, even though we know it's unrighteous and unwell for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Well, that's beautiful. Well, let's turn to these lovely students of yours that made the choice for Cultivate Academy.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies, for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Can everyone say your name and where you are in your educational journey, the grade that you're in, or how much longer you'll be at Cultivate Academy?
Hi, I'm Alana, and I am in junior high.
Mhm.
I believe, in the 8th grade or the 10th.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm
you
not
would be
quite
more
sure.
We don't do grades
Right,
a
I knew-
lot.
I
So they're
knew,
like,
right.
what would it
Well,
be?
I actually love that. That's why I kind of asked that. I love that because you're making sure that kids grasp the information, that they're literate, that they're up to speed in their math before,
Right.
unlike the current system where we just keep shoving kids, socially promoting them is what
Yes.
it's called.
That's correct.
Without, you were there, you know, it's whether you can read or not. And
Yes.
over 50% of our kids can't read on grade level. And if you don't read on grade level by the 3rd grade, there's a 97% chance you don't catch up. So I do think it's amazing for your
Right.
students that we're not thriving in the public school that you say. And that was why I opened the door to say kind of roughly where are you? Because you're making sure that kids get what they need to launch and prosper and reach their full potential in
That's
life. And
it.
that's beautiful.
That's
not
it.
just socially passing them.
That's it.
I love that. I love to hear that. Well, that's wonderful. And I'm going to come back because
Yes, ma'am.
before the show, you talked to me a little bit about what you wanted to do. And I can see how that intersects with growing your food and
Yes,
making sure
ma'am.
that wellness. So we'll come back.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Daya, well, I just said your name. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you are in your educational journey.
My name is Bayla, and I would be considered a senior, and I am a student/teacher at Cultivate Academy.
That's amazing. Well,
Yes.
good. So you're helping other students and through their academic journey.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
love that. That's
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Naraya. I would be considered a junior.
Okay. Well, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies, for joining us. This is
Thank
a
you for
treat to
having
have
us.
students because we're constantly
Yes.
talking about the kids, and it's great to have y'all here. So, let's go back and hear about what you want to do when you finish your K through 12 education.
Yes. What I want to do when I finish my education, I really would like to own an apothecary, and I would like to use what I know about different plants and different vegetables to heal people by using herbs. And with that, I want to do it because there are many people who are victims of bad medicine. Now, I'm not necessarily attacking the doctors, but they don't know the body. They only study the medicine. And 9 times out of 10, the medication that people take trying to get better makes them worse. Because what it more does is attack all of the good things, all of the good cells that you need. It attacks healthy blood cells, white blood cells, and it will attack good fats, all the things your body needs. It'll even more deplete you out of your vitamins, your minerals, but yet it'll wipe out whatever you have. And that's the thing they're more focused on, what's going to wipe it out, not the aftermath of it. And if I'm not believed, I'll tell you right now, I used to be a victim of that. Matter of fact, that's why I have gotten like so much weight and I'm on a weight loss journey. Literally, it started from me having a horrible infection right behind my brain. It made my face swell up. I looked like bread dough in an oven.
Oh, my.
And it was from a small dot to a huge, huge piece on my face. And they had to wipe that out with steroids. Now, in return, it made me become really overweight. I used to be really thin. I was doing karate and ballet. But that medicine tore me down. And it is just now that I'm able to get back on my feet and that I'm able to make a change. And because I don't want anyone to ever feel what I have felt, go through what I have gone through, I want to be able to give people a hope. And I want them to be able to live a good, healthy, whole, and humble life. And I want them to not only do that, but for them to live and spread on their journey But most of all, I want to be able to give them these herbs and pray over them. Because you can grow the vegetable, the fruit, as much as you want to, but if you're not praying to the Heavenly Father and asking Him to bless it, then you've done nothing. You have wasted your time. And I want people to just see Him through it and for them to come to Him about it. I want it to be that when they need somebody to help them, when they're ill, that they call on God and He can tap me and say, go help them. And I go and help them. No one deserves to lose so much of their life. No one deserves to die such a horrible death from medication, from illness. No one deserves to be stuck in the bed, because I can tell you, I spent years in the hospital after that, like 2 or so years. Matter of fact, it made me miss a lot out on my public schooling back then. And for those reasons, no one deserves that. Not an animal, not a human, not a child, not a man, not a woman, not a little boy, not an elderly person. So that's why I want to do it so much.
Thank you for sharing that. That is
Of course.
beautiful. That is, and you feel like that you're getting the base education that you need at Cultivate Academy?
Yes, and more than just a base education. You see, everything that I'm learning, I wouldn't have learned it back at that old public school. I have had a series of different things, all the way from public school in person, homeschool, but it really was just public school but at home, then public school online, then back to it. I've had so much going back and forth with it, but it has not been as fulfilling as coming here.
That's beautiful.
2, I've been racially discriminated, no matter how kind I was. Seriously, I was dealing with some real racism, and a lot of times I heard it in school, people saying the N-word.
Oh, no.
And a lot of times them targeting children who look like me. Most of the time, they wouldn't come at me as aggressively because I was respectful. But at the end of the day, they still were very, very rude.
You feel at home at Cultivate Academy?
I sure do.
That's wonderful. Thank
And
you.
I feel the Lord's presence.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing your experience.
Yes, ma'am, and thank you for listening.
All right, Dyla, let's hear about your experience. So you're helping educate younger and other students. Does that mean that maybe you want to be a teacher when you grow up?
Oh,
or-
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Teaching is definitely a part of what I'm going to do. I've done it for so long with my mom and all of our family. Really, we teach. That's what we do. We've done so much with growing the food, and our school is based on wellness. So, yes, teaching is what I enjoy doing.
Wait, are you?
Yes.
To Mom.
Yes.
Y'all didn't tell me that.
I
That's
didn't. I
amazing.
didn't tell you. I was gonna let her
Okay.
stand in her own. Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
she did.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
So you help with the teaching as well. You know, I
Yes,
love that.
ma'am.
There's so many wonderful schools and school leaders that I've met that where the students, where you're having a lot of Montessori and a
Yes.
lot of kind of the acting academies and the
Yes.
schools that
Yes.
are based on experiential learning and things like that,
Yeah.
where they do have the older students helping to educate because they say that you definitely retain more information when you're actually trying to teach it to others,
Yes,
right?
There we go.
And that's why our leadership program is called
2T202, which stands for to teach is to learn twice.
That's
That's
awesome.
the idea
Yep.
behind
Yeah,
it.
that's
To
right.
teach is to learn twice. That's great. So you have a lot of your students that help educate. That's
Yep.
awesome. So
Yes.
what's one of your favorite things that you work on? You talked a lot about wellness and things like that.
Yes.
Are you helping with the gardening and
Oh,
the
yes.
herbs and things like that?
So yes, the gardening I love the most, and our crop, the microgreens that we grow. I've done research in depth on all the vitamins and nutrients that are in them, and so when we actually do our markets, like on Saturdays, I get to share that information to the people who come and buy our product from the school. So
Okay, time
Yes.
out. Let's go back.
I know.
So we're a full school, and on Saturdays we have a
Yes.
market. So you're
Yes.
learning about capitalism and how to
Entrepreneurship. Yes.
share and serve others while also being able to support yourself. Can you tell me a little bit about the market?
Sure, yes. So at the market, we have our microgreen products.
Okay.
We sell our chicken salad sandwiches, which has the microgreens infused into the sandwiches. And then we have our salsa, our microgreen hummus. We have our microgreen cream cheese and our microgreen lemonade. And yeah, I think that's
My
all
mouth
of
is
them,
watering.
right?
I know.
It's
really
really
good.
good.
Next
It
time,
is so good.
Look, we just
You
got
have
off
to
break.
bring-
Otherwise, we would have brought
Right,
you
would
some
have brought some
microgreens.
salsa or something.
We didn't have them ready
Yes.
yet.
Next, okay,
Yes.
when y'all come back, because y'all are going to come back and talk
Yeah.
to the people of Texas and the leaders of Texas,
Wonderful.
you got to bring me some of that.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
bring it.
Oh
I
yeah,
want
for
some
sure.
microgreens.
We'll bring the
prepare it.
spread.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
chicken salad sounds
That'd be
really good.
Oh
It
yeah,
is really
It's-
good.
It is
Everybody,
really good.
everybody
Really good.
loves the chicken
Everybody
salad.
loves, and do
yeah.
y'all help make it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So Dayla has her food handlers. Alana and Naraya are still working on getting theirs. And then no, you got yours.
No, yeah, I was gonna say Alana.
So you,
She's like, hold on.
you have your food handler's license?
Alana
Yes, ma'am, I
and
do.
Dayla both have
Yes.
it. And
Yes,
And
then we're
Naraya,
working-
you're working on it?
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
do
about
you
some of the
enjoy being
recipes.
in the kitchen?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. So tell us a little bit about your experience at Cultivate Academy and what you love about it and how it differs from your previous school.
So I went to public school and then I came to Cultivate Academy, and it's really changed my way on thinking and how I learn. She gives us time to learn, and like if we don't understand it, to go back and actually really understand and focus on it more than as public school. They don't really. It's all about testing and go. Do this. If you don't finish it, just turn it in for a grade. I really get to like learn and understand what I'm learning.
So it sounds like you felt like maybe you were lost or
Yeah.
struggling in the public school system that you were in.
Yes, I was struggling. I didn't understand what they were teaching or what they were trying to get at. Miss Doree takes the time to make sure we all understand. And if we don't, she stops and lets us get it in or get our extra time in.
Did that go on for years for you?
Yes.
You felt like that you were just pushed through without having a grasp.
Yeah. A lot of teachers, they even said, like, we have to go based off of the STAR test, or I don't really know what I'm supposed to teach you, or they didn't want to teach. So I love how Miss Doree actually loves teaching and teaches us, because public schools, they did not do good
Yes.
at all.
And I was just saying, I'm very happy to have these two people right here as my friends. Also, I like that we can learn from one another. I like that we're like one giant educational family.
Yes.
We're there for one another. We listen. You wouldn't get that nowhere else. You really wouldn't.
And that's what I was going to say, because Naraya, you're saying how I give you time. Well, now that I've given you time, y'all give each other time,
Yeah,
you know,
yes.
and so it's an environment where they are supporting each other's learning and understanding. It's not a race to get it first. And then,
Metacognition, thinking about your thinking.
There we go.
so yes, the
Yep.
foundation is what?
Metacognition, thinking
Metacognition.
about your thinking.
Yes. So that is the foundation of the school. And so everything else within our framework, we focus a lot on Bloom's questions. And so you've got different levels of thinking. You know, when you first hear information, you're first hearing the information. But as you go through and you mess with it, right? You analyze it and you evaluate, you come to a place where you're able to actually understand. And once you can understand, you articulate. And then you teach. And so that's what they're doing. They take the information, they spend time with it, they do their own discussions, they do research. They are very good at research now. And they're good at organizing. They're becoming they're getting better at organizing their research. And so once they get to that place where they have the understanding, then they teach it.
Yeah.
And so that's how the whole process works. It's very intentional, but it's also organic. There's certain things that we know we have to do,
Sure.
but then there's a lot of space for us to take time to figure it out, to figure out how to do it. Depending on what the content is, they're just given time to learn.
That's amazing. So you've been open for 3 years.
This is our third year.
That's wonderful. How many students are attending?
So we have 15 students.
Great.
We started out with 12, and so now we
So you're
have
growing.
15. We're growing. And so I will say my intention now is to build it up a little. What I want is for us to build ourselves strong so that we can be a hub for other schools.
Yeah.
We do want other communities to take on our learning process. If it's working for us, we don't want to hold it to ourselves. We want other people to engage in it. And so we do want more students, but we really do want to make sure that we are strong enough to be able to help other communities do the same.
I think that's amazing and absolutely needed. You know, we talked about a little bit earlier the demand, the need to recognize that the one size fits all system that you ladies came out of and that you worked in for many years doesn't serve every child, and recognize particularly our most disadvantaged, our low income, our minority students are often the ones that are left to struggle the most.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like they're thriving with you.
They are thriving.
Yeah.
They're growing so well. I've just seen so much growth. Even for Naraya. Naraya's been with us the shortest amount of time. But I've just seen her grow and her maturity and her ability to lead. She's already a leader. She is a natural leader. She just needed an environment to be able to practice it, you know, to build that muscle and to know how to be a good leader. And so I'm seeing that out of her, and I'm so proud of all of them.
Thank you.
That's great.
They're amazing.
I'm proud of you guys.
We're going to be just fine.
Y'all are going to be just fine. So, Naraya, I asked your peers, your colleagues, if you will, as they're teaching others. So what do you know, what path, do you have an idea of what you want to do when you finish school at Cultivate Academy? What do you want to do when you go out into the world to be happy? And what do you feel like your purpose is?
Well, I'm thinking of that right now. I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet. I haven't had a lot of time to think about it, but like with Miss Doree, she's given me that time, and like she's taught me how to like think and stuff. Because when you really go to public school, it's this is school, but public school is different than like what we do, because I wouldn't really think. It would all be about turn this in, do that. So I'm just having time to think about what I want to do, but I'm not quite sure yet, but I know it will be something good.
You feel like that Cultivate Academy is a better environment for you to reach your goals in life?
Yes, it's a better environment.
You're excited to be there?
Yes, I am.
Do you think there's a lot of kids that were in your previous school that would benefit from a different environment?
Yes, a lot of kids would actually. Like one of my friends, she's thinking about coming to Cultivate Academy because she doesn't like the environment that she's around. And I was telling them about it and how we do the microgreens and stuff. I didn't even know about microgreens until Miss Doree taught me, and they like everything that she does. So.
Did you know about going to, is it a farmer's market that y'all go to and sell at? Did you know anything about that or how that worked, about growing and selling?
Miss Doree's teaching.
She taught you how to do that.
Teaching.
And about health in terms of taking care of your health, what you put in your body and things like that. That was new for you?
Yes.
That's awesome.
That's good.
That's good. That's good stuff.
Good.
That's good stuff. Well, that is just so exciting. So let's talk about, you said that you want to be able to grow Cultivate Academy.
Yes.
But it sounds like on your heart, what you want to do is also empower other great leaders, particularly in the curb roots.
Absolutely.
Those that are serving and called to serve our
Yes.
most disadvantaged students.
That's correct.
How to do a similar program to what you've set up so that kids are in a better environment.
That is correct. There are lots of communities like ours, and I want to empower whoever is seeking and is willing to do the work to do what we're doing. It's really not hard either. I think that's the other thing, you know, once we come from public school, it's so busy and there's so much to it, and we think that it has to be hard. We think that it has to be heavy, and it doesn't have to be. It really is a process that allows you space. Like Naraya's saying, you know, she can actually think about what she wants to do now.
Right.
And so, yes, I want, the goal is 12 schools in Texas over the next 4 years.
Wow. So let's talk about how to grow. So it costs money to educate students.
It does.
And do you have tuition?
We have tuition. It's minimal. because we are cultivating entrepreneurs, we have talked about my business structure, and they've seen how very little we charge compared to other institutions, private institutions, but they know that the mission is to help the least of these. And so in order to do that, the cost burden cannot be on tuition. It can't be on the parent.
Yep.
So that's why we do the market. And now we have another space that brings revenue. We are entrepreneurs in training, right? We are figuring out how to do the mission that we want to do without the burden being on those we are serving. That is why the savings account is so vital.
Right.
I've got parents all the time that say they want their kids to come to the school, but they can't afford it. And at this point, I can't afford to serve them without some type of revenue.
So that's where I was going with this. So your tuition is minimal. Is it less than $10,000?
Absolutely.
You want to give me
It's $550 a month.
Okay. All right.
For the first child and $500 for the second child a month.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So we're
I can
working
do math. I
extra
know
hard.
if you're in school for about 9 months,
Exactly.
we're looking at less than $5,000. Well, that's for the second child, but okay. So somewhere around less than $7,000.
Correct.
And did you know that in public schools, the amount of money that we spent in 2022, 2023
When I look at
was
the numbers,
$17,000?
when I look at the numbers, I'm just like, what all we could do with the amount of money that is given. And it wouldn't. So, like, our local district spends less than 6% of their budget on the food. We know what school food looks like, right? But we've got a huge athletic program. These bodies get ran every day, but the food that is put into their bodies is not well. That is unrighteous. And so in our moving and shaking, I think our budget's like 15-20% of our budget goes towards the food that we consume. We haven't even talked about lunch. But yeah, if I could get 17, anywhere close.
What if you could get around $10,000?
That would be fun. We know how to do so much with so little. You know, when I tell people to donate to our fiscal sponsor, which is unincluded, I'm like, you're going to see where your money's going. We have done so much with so little. $10,000 a student. It would clearly not just benefit the student. The family would be benefited. The community would be benefited. So yes, please bring it on so we can hurry up and get this done. We're working so hard just to stay open, right? And so when that energy is split, then we're not even fully manifesting what we could do here. And so if we have the funds that we need, we can focus fully on doing what we're doing.
So you mentioned earlier you've had to turn parents away because even though it's minimal, $550 a month. $550 a month is your tuition. So even though compared to other schools. Now, granted, the average or the mean across Texas is about $9,800. So you're still significantly under that. But some people, want to act like it's $35,000 a year, which is nuts. But so you are able to educate these kids. But for families, particularly that have multiple children, or just families that are working that maybe through life they didn't have the same opportunities. They went through the system where they were herded through and didn't learn how to read ever or whatever. That's a burden, right?
It completely is a burden. And the other thing is it's a mentality, right? We've got parents who, I went to a free system. My parents didn't have to pay for it. We've had generations of families that did not have to pay for education. And so shifting the mind to understand like, okay, actually, this probably is something that we're going to have to pay for. Oh, my goodness. And we'll pay hundreds of dollars for thousands for athletics.
We're building $100 million football stadiums for 13 Friday nights or whatever it is.
I know we don't have enough time for me to go there.
I know, but I'm with you. I love football.
I mean,
But
so
let's
just
educate
a plug.
our
I
kids.
love Torian. He's an amazing athlete at A&M now. I'm not crazy about football, and that's part of my story too. You
Okay.
know, with public school, football is pushed so hard and athletics is pushed so hard, but there's a culture that comes with that does not work out well for poor Black and brown people.
Say those quiet parts out loud. Let's talk about it then.
So myself personally, I lost my brother to the prison system for almost 15 years behind what I believe was a rotten culture. He was a star athlete, football, track, but there were a lot of things that went on in that culture. And I'm not saying, you know, there's not other factors, but the truth is we spend so much time in public school. Public school has got to be held accountable. The culture, drugs, different things that he got encouraged to do. And I lost my brother for a really long time because of that culture.
He was part of the school to prison pipeline.
He was, and he wasn't supposed to be.
So he was a football player, an athlete. Do you feel like they cut corners so he could play?
Oh, we still see that now. I have young people who have come through our, you know, programs, and, you know, I've had conversations, and he's like, yeah, miss, I should have gotten in trouble, but I didn't because I play football. And it's just like, I feel like all the work that I do, our legs get cut from under us. When they're allowed to go in and not be held accountable, then which one are they going to choose? Are they going to choose an environment that's going to hold them accountable, or are they going to choose an environment that lets them do whatever they want to? That's not how we raise men, responsible men, to take on building families and healthy communities. You know, it's wrong. It's so wrong what has been allowed to go on for so long. And there are so many families that are suffering because of what has been allowed to go on. And it's so weird because it's, you know, when you kind of have to dig under the surface to find those layers, right? And sometimes people don't even realize, like, oh, man, yeah, that happened to me too. But we don't realize it because it's kind of like, oh, well, this is what we're supposed to go through.
Yeah.
You know, well, this is the school that everyone went to. This is where, you know, this is what we've been going through. And so people don't question it. We don't question it. We just go through it. And then we end up unwell, fractured, broken, and sometimes really trying to figure out why. Because we know we're good people. We know we want what's best for our family. We want the same thing everybody else wants. It's like, how did we end up here? It's like, oh, I sent my child to this space 8 hours a day, almost every day of this year. This is what got produced out of it. My mom was a very good mother. My brother should not have spent that time in prison that he spent. He shouldn't have.
So you think he was exposed to, you said drugs.
I know he
and
was.
Okay. He was exposed to different things, but also the mentality that at that time in life, there are no consequences.
None.
And that's what carried into his
Absolutely.
adult life post-school.
I mean, barely. He barely made it out of high school and was gone.
Yeah.
Left when I was in 7th grade and wasn't there to see any of my children being born. And he's a beautiful human, but he didn't get to live that out.
Do you think if a school like Cultivate Academy, there's Kingdom Life Academy that's nearby with Joel Inge that is doing amazing work. There's so many great schools. Do you think if more schools, more great leaders like yourself, particularly within our minority communities, had the ability to open and grow schools like yours, that we could save a lot of the kids like your brother?
It would be done. It would be done. We're in a unique time and space where we've now experienced a lot. We've experienced, you know, the old civil rights. We've experienced seeing lots of different things happen. We've seen what works and what doesn't work. public. And so we're in a unique space where nothing is hidden. If you want to research it, you can find it out,
That's
right? And so there's no reason that we can't be successful. It's that one factor, money.
That's it.
It's that one thing. And so once we get the resources, then the game has changed.
And then they were treated as gods, and they're looking around.
And then nothing. Like, that is abuse that's a mental abuse that is almost irreparable, right?
It is for a lot of for young men. It is because when you through their formative years, when they're allowed,
formative years.
Yeah. And that's one of the entities, the groups that most fervently advocate against empowering parents with choice.
As I'm sure.
The Football Coaches Association.
Because they know they would lose so much money and power.
That's right.
Money is really what it is.
Right.
They would lose so much money.
Which is power.
That's it.
Doree, thank you for sharing about your traumatic, awful experience. I know that's deeply personal, but you have witnessed it as a teacher and administrator, and now also as a family member, seeing our young men and your brother, a young Black male who was led down a path. And we talked a little bit about the ability to read and things like that. And you said your mother was a great mother, and so she made sure he can read.
Oh, yeah.
But we know that a lot of these young men, Black young men, that are going through our system, they can't read. 70% of those, 70 to 80% of those that are ending up in prison from the school to prison pipeline can't read, and 40% of them have dyslexia. That was never addressed. Talk to us a little bit more about that culture that you've witnessed, both as a sister and also as an administrator, of what's going on and how we're losing a lot of men that might choose Cultivate Academy.
Absolutely. And in the same idea of choosing Cultivate Academy, they choose another way for their life. Football is such a religion. It starts early. In our community, you've got Pee Wee football, you've got all kinds of AAU teams. I mean, the breeding and the training happens early. There's really not a lot of spaces that cultivate anything but football. And so the school district really has an easy job. The athletic system has an easy job of getting these young people and just continuing their very small tunnel vision, right? It's not a whole lot of programming that has to happen because it's already been done. The parents don't have options. The parents are really just recycling what they went through, what they know. Most of our parents, think, well, if they can do well in football, they can take us to the next level. They can take this family somewhere, or it can take them somewhere. But we know that most of the time that is not the truth. It's not the story. If we have a student, and most of them are going to be students that are illiterate, they're going to be students who can't think for themselves and don't think for themselves. Those are the easy ones to take advantage of. Run them, and then when you don't need them anymore, you just discard them. I had a parent come to me, and she was just brokenhearted. She told me, she said, I didn't realize you took care of my kid. She said, girl, I was running the streets doing this, this and that. And come to find out, he was coming to you after school. And she was like, I'm so grateful for you. But she was really disturbed because her son played football for the local district. And as soon as he had his last game, they kicked him out. Then he started to get in trouble.
They kicked him out of school?
They kicked him out of athletics. So usually after school, they would go, they go in and they hang out, right? Go to the weight room. Well, that was no longer the case.
Yeah.
And since they restricted his access there, then he started to get into trouble, real legal trouble. It is criminal the way that these districts are given so much funds and access to our kids, and they're not held accountable for what's produced out of that time. Those athletes spend so much time with those coaches and their teams, and it's like, what are y'all doing? You have to show some type of development, something. I think they should.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of amazing skills.
But you know what, Mandy? I'm sorry, I have to say this. I think they should. They've already proven to us that they're not there for that. And so I'm saying that, but I'm really... I get discouraged when I see people fighting for public schools to remain open when they've been deserved themselves. What are you fighting for? They've never shown you that they've been here for you. So what are you really fighting for? It truly is time for us to just create our own spaces. It's time for us to say what we want and make it happen. So I'll take that back. I don't expect them to do anything than what they've already been doing.
Yeah. I think that's what we've got to provide the opportunity to leave. If you want to leave, to open the gates, to unshackle those that don't have the resources, the $500, the $550 or whatever that they can't do, they can't afford it. And on the football thing, I was an athlete and my brother was a football player and I watched that. And there's obviously a lot of amazing coaches and leaders out there that do teach a lot of valuable, great life skills, of course. But I do think there is, and we've seen lots of football movies kind of glamorizing the less than appropriate and behavior and the win at all costs. And in fact, every year I see at the Capitol one of the most ardent opponents of empowering parents. Empowering parents like those that come and seek your school, that look like you and that think like you, are the coaches associations.
Yeah, because we messing with their money. They don't want to see any of that money leave their program. Everyone in the public school system is fighting for relevance right now because they see it coming. They've gone too long getting blank checks every year, whatever, right? Every year without being held accountable. They see that people are tired of it and they're fighting for relevance. That's what they're doing right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited that you're going to be fighting back.
Yes.
I think it's important to really talk about, because one of the wonderful things about the education savings account that the governor and so many other great leaders, including a lot of leaders within the African American community, that say our kids need something better.
Correct.
It's prioritized for low-income students. And the exciting part, I don't know if you all knew this, but Florida passed private school choice, ESAs, back in 2002, and they implemented it in 2003. And at that point, their low-income kids, which is often your minority kids in the urban areas and suburban areas, their low-income kids ranked number 33 in the nation. Within 16 years, their low-income kids went to number 1.
Come on.
That's awesome.
That doesn't surprise me, though.
No.
At all.
Because they unleashed great leaders like
That's
you.
It. That's it.
Yes.
That's it. Once you create the environment and
That's
you
right.
give the opportunity, it's done.
Yep.
And it's a level of brilliance that come with y'all that you're not going to find it anywhere else. There's a level of brilliance that comes with knowing what suffering feels like. There's a level of creativity that comes from having to figure it out. So once we empower you all, everybody's going to be taken care of.
Maybe we have 3 great leaders here that help grow to that goal of 12.
Oh, they
There
will.
you go. We've got them right here. Now we just need to make sure that we have the education savings accounts
That's it.
so that they can get going and not have to be doing the fundraising and the scrimping and the saving
That's
it kills me to hear in the turning away of parents who
Yes.
want your environment
Yes.
for their students. Because that's what this is about, right?
That's
is empowering parents to be able to select a different option.
Absolutely. And I do believe the environment is more important than the thing in it. And so when it is intentional, when the environment is intentional, you're going to cultivate intentionality.
Sure.
And so, even if it's not our model, but there are so many educators out there that can create models that will be intentional. Like, we just have to let the freedom happen.
That's right.
and just let it be, let it happen, and it's just going to be amazing.
It is. It absolutely is. Okay. So we're talking about education freedom here and about unleashing the innovation that you all are experiencing. So I would love for you to tell me why you think other kids like yourself, minority students, kids that are struggling in their current public schools, kids that are more interested in working with their hands and gardening and participating in the capitalist system at a market and things like that. Tell me why the legislature should pass the education savings account so more kids can have an opportunity like you. Why should more kids have education savings accounts?
Okay. My reason on why I believe that the children around the world should have the type of school that me, Dayla, and Naraya are going to is because, number one, it is vital that you enjoy your life while you're still here. Because when you're gone, you're gone. And two, if you really think about it, it wouldn't make sense for God to create you just so you can be miserable. He is not that type of God. Life is simply about honoring and respecting Him, and then most of all, making sure that you're living correctly. But you can't live correctly if you're in a jail, because that's what public school has become, a jail. It has become a cage. And who wants to be in a cage? Nobody. So I say that it's very vital that children go ahead and get this type of education. One, because they would have a better attitude. Two, their work would significantly improve because they want to do it. What often happens in public school is the fact that your brain, and what I mean by this is the dopamine that comes in it. When your brain realizes that it can't get past something even though it wants to, it's like, fine, I'll figure out how to do it just so I can pass it, whatever. And it might be something important, but if you're trying to force somebody into something they don't want it won't be a good result. Oftentimes, this is what leads to depression, anxiety, fear. This is what leads to a lot of children not being confident in themselves. This is where self-hatred comes out. This is the start of how a lot of serial killers come out, psychopaths, because you have shut down the brain and put it on survival mode. And to be honest, when you're in survival mode, what do you think about? What's the quickest way out of the danger? You don't think about the rest of it. You just go and do it. And I'm saying it is no way that any child, and any person for that matter, should feel like a robot or an animal in the wild up here just trying to live life. But most of all, it blocks it where they can't figure out themselves and see the Heavenly Father. Because while you're still locked in here, you can't hear Him talking to you at all. You hear this silence. And that's not what He wants. And no child should be experiencing that. So I heavily say they really need to be here. Not only that, but this allows them to see their creativity. This allows them to be the little artists they are, whether that's in singing, dancing, writing poems, doing music, creating instruments. Because for all you know, you could be the next person to create a brand new instrument. But you won't know it unless you get the chance to. You can't expect a bunch of children to do all these things, but you're up here cutting them down before they can even fly. You can't expect a bird to fly if you keep him in a cage. You can't expect a horse to run if he has no legs. You can't expect a bunny rabbit to hop if he can't see the carrot. So
that is, you are just, I'm blown away by how well spoken you are. And thank you. I think that is just that. You are spot on. Great job.
Thank
All right.
you. I appreciate it.
Of course. Why should every kid across Texas that needs it have access to an education savings account and a school like Cultivate Academy?
I think I feel because if they get the opportunity to experience what we've experienced at Cultivate Academy, then they'll be more confident and they won't just be surviving. They'll be able to thrive and pursue the things that they would like to do and figure out what they want to do. So, yeah, that's the reason why I think that all children should be able to get into school like Cultivate Academy.
That's beautiful.
So, yeah.
Okay. Why should every student across Texas that needs a different learning environment have access to an education savings account to attend a school that's like Cultivate Academy or a different environment?
Well, I think they'll like it here. They'll get to, well, I know they'll like it here. They'll get to learn. We have an open space. We all are kind and welcoming to everyone who comes. And also, if they want to do like sports like football and stuff, we got AAU. We can do stuff like that. It will keep you out of trouble, give you really time to think. And if you believe in God, we're open to that too. We're all seeking, and I just think they'll really like it. We're all seeking.
Yes.
Amen.
God's
Say that
kingdom.
again one more time.
We're all
Louder.
seeking the kingdom.
Yes.
I love that.
I think they'll enjoy it. They'll love it. I think they should come.
You all are so impressive and articulate, and I'm just so grateful to have you here. It's rare that we get students, and it's beautiful that you all are able to come and share why you needed a different environment and advocate, quite frankly, for kids like yourself that
Thank you.
would do that. So before we wrap up today, I would love for you to look in that camera and talk to the leaders of Texas, talk to the parents of Texas, talk to the school administrators or teachers that could do something great alongside you or in their own way for other kids. Tell them why passing education savings accounts is so important to the next generation of Texans.
Okay. Yes, passing the savings education account is extremely important. It's the start to freedom. It's the start to cultivating thinkers. If there's one thing we can all agree on as educators and administrators, is that our young people are not thinking. A lot of us are part of these systems, and we know we want to see different, but we're just not sure how. We're capable of doing it, but we just need an opportunity to do so. And to parents, for those of you who are fearful of what's to come, just think about what you have now. This is the time for us to shift our mindset, to start understanding that if we want better, we can have better. But we have to accept that we're going to have to let go of the things that we've always known for us to see a different future, for us to see a different reality. And for the legislatures who are, y'all are holding our fate in your hands, so to speak, with the resources. This is a wise decision. I do urge you guys that are our leaders to make sure that as this is rolled out, that you consider the least of these. I see, that the goal is to start with those who are low income, but also creating a space so that those who have been, when we say those who are the least of these, there are a lot of people who have been fractured. There are a lot of communities that need to be whole again. And one way to do that is to educate and empower them about who they truly are. That has been dismissed and it has been ignored for a long time. Educating the least of these does not mean that that is going to cultivate a sense of battle in anyone. At this point, I understand that people need to be made whole so that they can care for their community and our communities can thrive like they never have before. So yes, let's do it.
Yes.
Thank you, Doree. I'm so grateful that you are on this mission.
Me too.
With millions
Most
of
of the
parents.
time, me too.
Yeah, right. Well, yes, same. But I am truly grateful that you are here and willing to say the quiet parts out loud.
Yeah.
Say what we talk about oftentimes when the camera's not on that everybody acknowledges, and stand up for the least among us.
Yes.
Stand up for the kids that are struggling and need something else, and stand with the millions of parents across Texas that have locked arms in the parent empowerment movement to fight for the next generation. So thank you so much, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us. I cannot wait to see what you all do in the next few years and with your lives. I know it's going to be great things. Thank you all for joining us today. And now you have the power.